Hello, my name is Philip Totaro. I'm the founder and CEO of market research firm IntelStor. Welcome to your weekly dose of truth to power. Truth to Power examines data driven insights for the energy sector with a focus on renewables. On this week's episode, we're going to look at each global region from the IntelStor Future of Renewables report in depth, starting with Africa and the Middle Eastern region. Well, the Africa and Middle Eastern region represents the largest opportunity and need for renewable energy deployment in order to offset a staggering dependence on fossil fuels, which still exists today. The region has been overwhelmingly dependent on fossil fuels for the past century. In the past 25 years in particular, the Africa and Middle Eastern region has only seen a reduction from 85% non-renewable power generation sources to 80% as of the end of last year. This was made worse by a reduction in renewables back in 2013 that led to a non-renewable power generation capacity of more than 88%. The most mature countries economically have benefited the most from the energy transition, with South Africa, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Ethiopia leading the way. Most countries have exploited at least one renewable energy technology, but even South Africa remains largely dependent on fossil fuels, with more than 77% non renewable fuel sources versus 22.3% renewable, led by solar PV and onshore wind energy. Ethiopia remains the only exception to this among the top 10 Africa and Middle Eastern region countries, with 98.5% renewable energy capacity. And for those of you that are familiar, they've deployed wind energy, they've tapped geothermal, and deployed a significant amount of solar PV. Many African countries which have deployed hydropower are looking at ways to potentially reduce or eliminate dependence on that technology in the next 25 years. There's a large desire to preserve scarce freshwater resources, improve drought resilience, and leverage renewable energy resources which are not dependent on feedstocks or sources that are less easily replenished when compared to wind or solar PV. That would include things like solid biofuels. Among the top 10 countries in the Africa and Middle Eastern region, Kenya has achieved the best diversity of resources given their demand. They've also been able to take wider advantage of their available geothermal resource more so than any other country in the region, in addition to their hydropower, onshore wind, solar PV, and solid biofuels capacity. Ethiopia's deployment of considerable hydropower has led to more than 5.4 gigawatts deployed, but that is 85% of the renewable energy installed capacity, and their drought vulnerability makes the dependence on hydropower risky for them. Hydropower still dominates overall, but it is poised to be overtaken by solar PV capacity installations in 2026 within the Africa and Middle Eastern region. Any surge in renewable energy capacity additions on the continent of Africa or within the Middle Eastern region will necessitate a significant amount of transmission and distribution build out to help facilitate it. While they have seen a modest deployment of concentrated solar power as well as solid biofuels, the reality in the Africa and Middle Eastern region is that onshore wind and solar PV still represent the most cost-effective renewable energy technologies to deploy there. According to IntelStor's forecast, solar PV will become the dominant renewable energy technology within the region, particularly if they continue to build out transmission infrastructure that would allow the region to become a net exporter. While they do have abundant offshore wind resources around the region, particularly off the coast of Western African countries as well as the Cape Horn region, it's unlikely that that type of technology would be fully exploited for both technical and commercial reasons. Onshore wind can continue to grow in Africa and the Middle East, but solar irradiance in the desert regions significantly outpaces the wind resource, so solar should win as long as capital costs remain relatively fixed. With an abundance of sun in the Sahara Desert, as well as in the southern continent countries, including Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa, the entire continent could be singularly powered by solar PV coupled with energy storage, assuming they have adequate transmission and distribution to allow those countries to be net exporters. There are also numerous lakes and flowing rivers, which has resulted in a surge of hydropower built with the help of Chinese project development companies in the past 25 years. Annual capacity additions will continue to be driven by solar PV, but hydropower, onshore wind, geothermal, concentrated solar power, and solid biofuels will all see some growth within the next 5 years. As with the rest of the world, most countries in Africa and the Middle Eastern region will be cost sensitive, so these capacity additions will reflect the cost efficiency of solar PV deployment, followed by onshore wind the most. Geothermal capacity additions will be limited to those countries which have available resource for obvious reasons, but also because it's notoriously difficult to actually drill for thermally efficient geothermal. Annual capacity growth from many of the other technologies is also driven by available resource and perhaps more importantly, by the availability of public finance, which is allocated to demonstration projects in order to understand the viability of the technology within the region. Cumulative capacity of renewable energy in the Africa and Middle East region will see solar PV overtake hydropower in 2026, as many countries would prefer to conserve their water resources and improve their drought resilience. Onshore wind will remain the next growth area for the region as new transmission infrastructure is built and capital cost remains reasonable, particularly with tariff-free component sourcing from China. As geothermal technology becomes more cost efficient, there should be some resource exploitation in Africa beyond 2030, but as I noted before, it will be limited. While the growth prospects for renewable energy in Africa and the Middle East may be limited overall compared to the rest of the world, there are pockets of growth in solar PV and wind energy which represent fantastic opportunities for investors. By 2030, solar PV should have more than 69 gigawatts installed, which is up from 42 gigawatts today, and another 15 gigawatts of cumulative wind energy capacity, up from 11.8 gigawatts today. Even though the region has just under 43 gigawatts of hydropower already, we only expect 3 gigawatts of additional capacity growth in the next 5 years. The real promise for the Africa and Middle Eastern region comes in the form of transmission infrastructure build-out, as I've noted several times. More offtake capacity will facilitate solar PV and wind energy capacity additions like the rest of the world has seen in other regions historically. The more available transmission, the more renewable demand. Thank you for joining me this week. I'm Philip Totaro, and this has been your weekly dose of truth to power. We'll have more to come from this IntelStor exclusive report, The Future of Renewables, next time on Truth to Power. Follow us on IntelStor's YouTube channel as well as your favorite audio platforms in the meantime. And visit www.intelstor.com to join more than 250,000 subscribers to our renewable energy data solutions. We're adding subscribers faster than ever, so don't miss out. Register today. A full analysis of the global renewable energy market is available to online subscribers of this new, exclusive IntelStor report, The Future of Renewables. And don't forget to register today for the next Wind Summit event in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Visit www.windsummit.org and join hundreds of your industry colleagues to discuss all the latest trends in O&M. We hope to see you there.